January 29, 2022. Be direct. Disregard, even the disregard itself, be direct. To be fixated with the mind is not direct, still stuck with the anicca. Disregard, even from the disregard itself, this is not about the mind. That is direct, which is not about anything in being direct. If you still fixated with the mind in this way and that way, it will be indirect, it's not aligned. It will be continue in such a way, especially when create thoughts, recalls, opinions and meanings. It will just continue with the anicca, uninvolved with the anicca. Don't be obsessed with the anicca, dukkha and anatta. That which is uninvolved with the anicca. That which is uninvolved with dukkha. That which is uninvolved even with the anatta itself. Uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself. The force of the deliberate cut through to be absolute. Disregard, even from the disregard itself, to be absolute. Disregard doesn't grasp itself as it is. Give the force of deliberate cut through for samsara to the utmost. Don't just look at form and formlessness, body and mind, in whatever ways. Don't be preoccupied with the delusional seeing. Don't be obsessed with just delusional looking or delusional knowing. Don't be obsessed with the anicca, dukkha. Don't be obsessed with the anatta. The looking is anicca within itself. The knowing is anicca within itself. The knowing is insufferable within itself, dukkha within itself. Looking and seeing itself is anicca, dukkha, and anatta within itself. That which is uninvolved with the anicca, uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself, well with it. It's so troublesome when the mind is fixated to itself in this way and that way. It's still troublesome when there is a fixation to the anicca of the mind. Still remaining with the anicca, still holding on to anicca and dukkha, still remaining, holding on to something that doesn't hold on to itself. This is a troublesome, huh? Holding on to looking, seeing and knowing. Holding on to the yan, to the knowing, to the perception. This is a trouble. Even anicca discards itself. The anicca discards itself. It's shifting and changing and discards itself. Don't be obsessed to hold on. It's troubling. Being obsessed to drown, to sink, to sustain and maintain is the trouble. Not yielding to shift and change, not yielding to discard, Therefore, it's difficult. Not yielding to shift, to change, to discard, it's a trouble. Is there a hidden delusive attachment behind the stillness and indifference? Then after a while, poking one's head out to be panic-stricken, huh? Being discreet? Being discreet? Discreetly hiding the delusive attachment, huh? With this, it's possible for oneself to frantically awaking with the panic-stricken. Doesn't yield to shift and change, huh? Holding on, that is torturing, huh? The anicca discards itself at all times, shifting and changing at all times, discarding itself at all times. At all times, the disregard doesn't grasp itself. Disregard, even the disregard itself, well with it. Discreetly holding on, huh? Disregard, even from the disregard itself, absolutely, constantly, so that it will be deliberately cut through from the delusion to grasp, to hold on with everything, so that there will be no more hesitations, doubts, and questioning in all the panics. To be obsessed with goodness and badness, it will not bypassing, not yet, never. Still holding on within the belief values, within opinions. Being obsessed with goodness and badness, not yet bypassing. To be obsessed with bypassing or not within that thought is not even bypassing. Uninvolved, even within the uninvolved itself, well with it. Don't be obsessed with the form and formlessness that is anicca. Don't be delusively preoccupied with the body and mind that is anicca. The body and the mind is not true substantial. Form and formlessness is not truly substantial. Being careless in enjoying, in looking, seeing and knowing, holding on discreetly in the looking and the seeing, in the knowing, seeing or knowing a tiny bit, discreetly holding on by the delusive attachment, thinking that there is nothing there. And then frantically waking up to be panic occasionally. This is being careless. Disregard, even from the disregard itself. Purify the disregard itself, purified through the extinction and emptiness within itself. There's not that many sentences here. 1 or 2 sentences can give ending to samsara, not just closing the woeful realms. Just realize that there is still carelessness in knowing and seeing, the attempt to see, to know. Disregard, even from the disregard itself, has nothing to do with knowing or not knowing, seeing or not seeing, being clear or not. There's no need to mention about the garbage of thoughts, opinions and meanings, which is totally another things. Still remain being careless, still obsessed with enjoying within knowing, seeing and looking, still involved and give meanings and significance within knowing, seeing and looking. This is being careless. This is not cutting the deluded knowing. Still there is involvement, significance and meanings within the knowing. Disregard, even from the disregard itself. Don't be concerned with knowing or not knowing. Don't be concerned with knowing or not knowing, being clear or not clear with anything whatsoever. To be delusional with clarity or disclarity is remain in the cycle of the becoming on and on. Still continue with the samudaya, causes of suffering and the sufferings. Anicca discards itself at all times, shifting and changing at all times, discarding at all times, not yielding to shift and change, holding on tightly, Not yielding to change, holding on tightly with the opinions, with the insight and knowledge, with looking, seeing and knowing, unchanging, not yielding to change and shift. The nature of everything is shifting and changing at all times and discards itself at all times. Disregard, even from the disregard itself, then it will be absolute purification of the extinction. All the delusion and desire, delusive attachments will be dissolved. Disregard, even from the disregard itself, there will be nothing left. If not disregard, then it will be full of lineage of karma. It will be full of the lineage of karma. Each moment and types of the minds is full of lineage of karma, mental karma and its cycle. Moreover, there are also physical and verbal karma. This is all about karmic lineage. Let's constantly make a conclusion towards ending to purify onwards. Thinking that there is nothing, this is being careless. Such a thought is full of samsara. There is the thought that there is nothing. Only that you think that there is nothing actually is a lot already. The thought that there is nothing, you know how many realms are there, how many cycle of becomings are there. Discrete, huh? The delusive attachment is discreetly hiding behind the silence, behind the stillness and indifference. And thinking there's nothing, this is unrealized that this thought is full of samsara within such a thought. There is already samsara in such a thought that there is nothing. Just coming up every once in a long while because it's discrete, hiding behind the stillness and indifference, behind the looking, the seeing. This is the delusive attachment. It is hiding. Disregard, even the disregard itself, so that it will be deliberate cut through from the delusion in the seeing, in the knowing. Deliberate cut through from knowing and not knowing. Then naturally, there will be no significance and meanings and involvement with knowing or not knowing. There will be nothing within knowing or not knowing naturally. It will not be about anything within seeing or not seeing naturally. Disregard, even from the disregard itself, absolutely. Let's end all clinging within mindfulness, concentration, contemplation, meditative power, special insights and wisdoms, so that it will end all clinging within the form and formlessness, within all types of Dharma. Disregard from itself. Disregard, even from the disregard itself, so that it will end all habits of the attempt to be bound or to be free, so that it will end all the habits of the worldlings and the noble ones. There still remains the habits within the worldlings and the noble ones. The differences are just the subtleties and the crudeness. The habits of the worldlings are still dense, while the ones for the noble ones are less dense. Somehow they are all habits. Disregard, even from the disregard itself. Then there will be no more habits left. No more habits left. Neither will it be the noble ones or the worldlings. Holding tightly, huh? Not yielding to shift or change, while shifting and changing is at all times. Anicca discards itself at all times. The anatta doesn't grasp itself at all times. Being obsessed to be stuck with just waking up early, waking up late. This is the delay in awakening, that which is not related to awakening or not. Not to be stuck with just awakening or not awakening, waking up late, waking up early, whatsoever. Waking up early or waking up late, being stuck with just awakening, that which has nothing to do with awakening or not. that which is not related to awakening or not awakening. To be obsessed with delay in awakening, being slow and clumsy with just awakening internally or externally. That which is not related to awakening or not awakening. The awakening is not relevant to itself. Just like the disregard is uninvolved to itself, is not relevant to itself. Disregard, even from the disregard itself, don't be obsessed with just disregard or regard. Otherwise, there will be incalculable lifetimes that one goes through life and death, being born and dying, without a conclusion towards ending. There's only the conclusion of the unconsciousness, without the conclusion for ending. Disregard, even from the disregard itself, absolutely. So that all clingings within the opinions, within the knowledge and seeing will be deliberately cut through, a total cut through. There is an obsession with the delusion to see, seeing clearly or not clearly. There's a lot of clinging to it, always creating the arising mind, the cycle of becoming at all times. Disregard, even from the disregard itself, absolutely. Try to not regret the knowing. Try not to regret the seeing. Try not to regret being clear or not clear with anything. Try to not regret having the wisdoms or not, having the mind or not. So that it will enable to not be concerned with the attempt to arise and to cease. While being obsessed with the attempt to arise and to cease on and on. That is being stuck with just anicca, dukkha, anatta. Disregard, even from the disregard itself. Try not to regret having the mind or not. Try not to regret the knowing and the seeing. Then there will be no concern with wearing the spectacles or not. being busy regretting the clarity and disclarity on and on, huh? Disregard, even from the disregard itself, absolutely. Be deliberate, cut through to help samsara. Still holding on to the idea of goodness and badness is troubling, huh? Still being a worldling or being a noble one, it is a trouble, huh? Discreetly holding on, huh? Holding on to something that is not about holding on is a torture, is a trouble. Don't regret even the full contemplation. Try not to regret even the full contemplation, even the lightness or contentment, happiness or whatever. The lightness, try not to regret it. Try not to regret the brightening, the lightness itself. Try not to regret being awakened. Disregard even from the disregard itself. Disregard even from the disregard itself, absolutely. Try not to regret being awakened. Whether it is waking up late or early, if still involvement with awakening or waking up, there is still a delusion. Even waking up until late, to midnight, 1 or 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, still involvement with awakening, there's still a delusion. Try not to regret being awakened or not. Whether it is day or night, disregard even from the disregard itself constantly. Then it will not be related to awakening or not, without options of time, day or night. Disregard even from the disregard itself, beyond big heart or small heart, beyond any types of the mind, beyond narrow-minded or open-minded. Otherwise, it will not be called deliberate cut-through. Discreetly holding on, huh? The delusive attachment, discreetly holding on within the enjoyment and being carried away within all the ordinariness. This is not discarding. Still being deluded to the comforts or no comforts. Not yet disregard. You are left behind the anicca, huh? The liberation is delayed, huh? This is because there is a discreetly holding on. It makes oneself delay,
แล้วไปไม่ไว
unable to be bygone,
ทิ้งไม่เร็ว
not spontaneous.
อนิจจังทิ้งอนิจจังอยู่ตลอดในทุก
The anicca discards itself in every moment, in every atom of itself.
นี่มันแอบเกาะอยู่แอบเกาะอยู่
Instead,
แอบเกาะอยู่
one is discreetly holding on, holding on, holding on.
ก็เลยแล้วไปไม่ทันอนิจจังเลย
Therefore, is unable to catch up with the anicca. Cannot be bygone.
อนิจจังนี่แล้วไปตลอด
The anicca is bygone
แอบแช่แอบ
at all times to itself. However, you are discreetly holding on, discreetly thinking.
เลยแล้วไปไม่ทันอนิจจังเลยลูกเปลี่ยนไม่ทันอนิจจังปรับไม่ทันอนิจจังทิ้งไม่ทันอนิจจังเลย
Therefore, the let go is not in time with the anicca, unable to shift and change in time with the anicca, unable to discard in time with the anicca at all.
เดี๋ยวมันจะยิ่งกว่าทิ้งไม่ทิ้งอีกลูกไม่กระทั่งไม่เอง
Disregard, even from the disregard itself, it will be even beyond discarding or not.
ดีๆไม่กระทั่งไม่เองดี
Well to disregard, even from the disregard itself.
เดี๋ยวมันจะยิ่งกว่าแล้วไปอีก
Then it will be even beyond the bygone.
มันจะยิ่งกว่า
It will be beyond the bygone, be bygone.
ไม่กระทั่งไม่เองดี
Well to disregard, even from the disregard itself.
มันจะยิ่งกว่าทิ้งไม่ทิ้ง
Then it will be beyond, even beyond discarding or not.
มันจะไม่เกี่ยวกับทิ้งไม่ทิ้งไปเอง
Naturally, it will have nothing to do with disregard or not, being bygone or not.